Hello everyone. I was up late the other night and had a few very interesting thoughts. I couldn't sleep and some ideas came to me, and I thought I would share in outline or very briefly or aphoristically some of those ideas with you here. And we can explore this in other videos much further. The concepts are endless, really. The implications are all-encompassing. I will say that some of the terms I use definitely need clarification. When I talk about men or women, for example, or masculine, feminine, I don't mean individual men and women so much as the Platonic ideas. What is masculine, feminine, like yin and yang, one and two, things like this. So with that caveat, I'll get into it. And we start out with a problem, and that is one that I think a lot of people today face, especially, and that is, what do I do? How do I do it? How can I get myself to do what I want to do? And if we can't answer this question, we are stuck in a stasis, which is called depression, which leads to suicide, all kinds of mental illness. The list goes on. So it's very serious. To provide an answer to this question would be to solve the riddle of the world, perhaps, and I don't intend to do that right here. And I'm not giving advice. This is more of a description of the phenomena, and again, one that is not fully elaborated. But we have this issue. How do we act? How can we act? And what came to me is that not being able to act is based on fear. In fact, fear is literally, if we were to define it, the inability to do, the inability to act. Fear is the only thing that separates us from accomplishing what we will. Fear is the only thing that separates us from theosis, identification with deity. Now, that sounds lofty, and it is, and I won't get into all of that again, and enough apologizing, perhaps. Not being able to act. Now, why do we do this? Why does fear cripple us? Why are we not able to do what we want to do? There are a number of reasons for it. Child psychologists or psychologists in general have understood that our developmental era is deeply connected to how we handle situations as adults, and perhaps that is what adulthood is overcoming childhood, so on and so forth. But again, we form reactions as we adapt to the world, and the ability to have control over our reactions is in essence the solution. Control over reactions, reactivity, affectivity, emotionality. That's not to say that emotions are not of the essence of this life. They are, but how do we experience life deeply and with sensitivity, and yet not let these reactions hold us back from activity? And again, that is the riddle. That's the problem. That's the dilemma for anybody who views themselves to be a sensitive soul, or one that has the richness of life to experience, but struggles to find out how to express himself. Now, what is depression? What is anxiety? These burdens that keep us from acting. They are feelings, if we get down to it on a physiological level even. And this is why Nietzsche's insight that maybe we ought to examine physicality before anything else was such a profound idea. As simple as it sounds. When we feel bad, what is it? It's something we can feel in our chest, in our stomach, that prevents us from being able to do anything at all. It's hell, essentially hell. It's being chained, it's being bound. When somebody says something we don't like, we have a feeling and it affects our attitude, our mood, and we become helpless, feckless. We become languishing in a cesspool of inactivity. Now, in this connection, we can understand why there's such a pandemic of drug use in the world today. Of course, drugs didn't exist as they do now, in the forms they do now, or as available as they are now, beyond 70 years ago. So this is a new problem, and the cycle that the drugs cause is just a deepening of the issues I'm talking about here. But what's interesting is that they tap directly into the problem. Why do people use substances? It's an ersatz method, an artificial way, a kind of easy button to escape the problem of the inability to react or to be the way we want to be. And all this has to do with masculine and feminine as well. Alcohol, it strips away certain faculties of the mind so that another part of us can express itself. It allows us to lose our anxiety for a while so that we can say what we want to say. And this is the danger of such substances. I would go so far as to say that alcohol is a woman. I know that, again, bizarre, but maybe we'll get a chance to explore that. Somebody who consumes alcohol identifies, the unconscious comes out, and we've called the unconscious feminine. Think of Jung in this context. The anima for a man. And when we consume alcohol, that unconscious element in us is able to flow a little more freely, but we must pay for it. See, we want to get into a state where we don't have to pay a tremendous price for being able to act. And that can only happen when we tap into our own natural power source, which is accomplished by eliminating fear. Stimulants, amphetamine, methamphetamine, caffeine on a milder level, they don't make us identify with the unconscious. They catapult us above the feminine. They bypass that problem that we have in feeling how we want to feel. They allow us to act. In other words, the goal is always being able to do what we want. We take alcohol because we want to be able to feel comfortable. We take a stimulant because it makes us feel power. The goal, ultimately, in all of this, is to have power. What is power? Being able to do. Even on a base physical level with objects, an object has power insofar as it acts, insofar as it has action, insofar as it has energy. And that is what we want at all times, is the ability to act. We want power. We are seeking power. And in order to get it, in order to be it, we have to have courage, which is the elimination or the absence of fear. Now, what makes all of this so difficult is that we can't simply will it to happen. It's almost as if we need to await a divine miracle in order to accomplish this. And in some sense, that's true. And there are a lot of analogies with religious doctrines, dogma. And by discussing these things in the way I am now, I hope to shed light on why it is that the commentators, theologians, and agents of whatever religious tradition we discuss were able to intuitively come up with or invent what they invented. The thing is, they didn't invent any of it. Well, unless we talk about the literal meaning of that word, which is to discover something that was already there, something that was always there in potentia. And that is what I hope to be able to continue to do myself, and I want to share that with you as well. we're approaching 10 minutes here, so I'll cut this off now, and this will be an introductory video to some of the ideas I want to talk about later. Thank you for your time.